Are at 1:02 right now, so I will call this meeting to order. So we will start with a roll call of commission members. Vice Chair Gail Jackson, and I believe she'll be joining us shortly. Commissioner Jesse Breckenridge.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Carol Curtis. I believe she'll be joining us shortly as well. Commissioner Cal McCloy.
Present.
Commissioner David Steiner.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Thomas Waddell. And you can probably unmute. Looks like you're muted. Commissioner Thomas Waddell. And again, I think you are muted.
Move your cursor down to the bottom of the screen and you'll see a bar that you can click the microphone.
And Vice Chair Jackson has joined us.
Wonderful. Commissioner Thomas Waddell. So it looks like he is present, but his microphone is muted.
Mr. Waddell, if you're able to at least put in the chat that you are present in order to keep record, that would be appreciated. Either format works at this time.
All right, we'll go to Vice Chair Gail Jackson.
Here.
Thank you.
And Commission Member Waddell has put in present. Okay, thank you.
Wonderful.
I'll watch
Thank
the
you.
chat for everybody.
Thank you. All right, city staff, Council Member Regina Salas.
Present.
Economic Vitality Director Heidi Hansen. Airport Director Barney Helmick.
Present.
Airport Programs Manager Brian Gall.
Brian will be absent today.
Okay. Airport Communications Manager Claire Harper.
Present.
ARFF Operations Manager Tim Skinner.
Present.
And Recording Secretary Michelle Sanner.
Present.
Thank you, everyone. Moving right along to preliminary general business, public comment, participation input. Items presented during the public participation input portion of the agenda cannot be acted upon by the commission. Individual members of the commission may ask questions of the public, but are prohibited by open meeting law from discussion or considering the item amongst themselves until the item has been officially placed on the agenda. Is there any public comment, participation, input at this time? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to announcements, reconsiderations, changes to the agenda, and other preliminary announcements. Are there any announcements at this time?
One change will be that I will be covering Brian Gall's portion since he is out today.
Okay, thank you. All right, hearing no other announcements, let's move on to the approval of the minutes from our October 13th meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
This is Gail Jackson, and I move to approve the minutes as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Do I hear a second?
Second, Cal McCloy.
Thank you, Commissioner McCloy. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, all right. Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Thank you all for approval of the minutes. And we'll move along to City Council updates. Councilmember Regina Salas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you all for being here. So what's coming up on council's agenda for next week is the second reading of the Outdoor Lighting Standard Zoning Code text amendment. The first reading of the stormwater rate adjustment. A discussion on holiday display policy, the Thor Park Annex concept design, and adult use marijuana retail sales. So that's for next week, November 15. And then in the following week, we have in the calendar let's see. The 31.45 acre master development ground list discussion. And just strolling through the calendar here, noting pertinent items that may be of interest to the Airport Commission. And of course, on December 13, my flagship initiative discussion on business one-stop shop business service, as well as a workforce development initiative. Yeah. And hopefully Prop 441 and 442 are gonna pass. We have some initial results from the election, so it is likely that they're gonna be passed. So 13% of the provisional of the early ballots have only been accounted for. And I'm here for questions if there are any.
All right, any questions for Councilmember Salas? All right, hearing none, thank you very much, Councilwoman Salas.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We will move on to staff reports with Claire Harper.
Okay, so we have our employments, and as you can see, October was a bit higher than September. The airport's certainly been busy. United did have its last flight on October 28th, so unfortunately, we will anticipate seeing a smaller number of employments for the rest of the year, even though United was only doing one flight out to Denver. That will certainly impact those numbers. We can move on to the next slide. For our operations, we were down a bit in October. And then if we want to move to our next slide of fuel. I believe we have yet to receive our October fuel numbers from our fixed-based operator. So our next presenter will be the fixed-based operator, and we do have Joshua Bruner, who will be filling in for Orville Wiseman. So Josh, if you want to give us a little bit of an update on fuel flow, perhaps the lower number of operations and what you're seeing over at the FBO, that would be great.
Sure. I don't have the exact quantity. He didn't send me that, but I can tell you that October was good. Kind of like I think the whole airport had a really nice October, but we were still down 12% in fuel volume this October compared to 2021 a year ago. It's not bad considering everything that's going on with the fuel prices and everything. So we were really happy with that. Overall, year to date, we're still cumulatively down about 17% fuel sales from the year before.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for that. And that was the fixed-based operator report, is that correct?
Correct. And if there's any questions.
All right.
Yeah, if there's any, yeah, I'm sorry. I thought we were just talking about the fuel there. I don't have a whole lot of other additions. We've got 2 football charters left this season. One this weekend, one the following weekend. This weekend is Allegiant. Next weekend is Sun Country. Those are the primary vendors that have been flying in and out for NAU and the opponents this season. It all seemed to go well. I think we haven't had any issues, and with as far as the FBO goes. I don't think the airport's had any issues with all that. It's all gone smooth. Everybody's been happy. We have extended our hours as of November 1st. We're open till 11 p.m. now to help accommodate with frost de-icing on the medevacs. A lot of them show up, right after it gets dark, and they sit there for an hour while they go get their cruise, and they come back and their wings are frosted up. So to kind of mitigate some of the call outs all night long, we're staying open till 11 o'clock. We hired 7 new people. 6 of those are still here. So that and we did that intentionally to help with the longer hours during the day. So far, so good. They've all been here about a month now, and knock on wood, we retain them all for the next foreseeable future anyway. I think that's really all I've got for you guys right now. If you got any questions for me, let me know.
Josh, how was the symphony event that was held in the hangar?
It was really good. The only negative I heard, or that we could experience was we had a football charter that weekend too. So those of you that are familiar with where we parked the team, everybody was in our overflow lot, dirt lot, whatever you want to call it, behind the FBO for the football charter. So there was really no parking available for the symphony stuff. So people had to park up and down Chamarral, and I think a lot of them ended up over at Joy-Con and some of them at our other hangar on the west side. And had to walk a little bit, but everybody had positive reviews. They said they made some good money and had a lot of fun. We just need to, if we ever do something like that again, we got to make sure we're all on the same page about what else is going on. As far as the FBO, obviously we don't have football charters every weekend, but when NAU flies out, it creates some space issues over here.
Hey, Josh, this is Tom Waddell. Just a quick question. I noticed that there was, I went to pick up my son yesterday, and there was one of the carrier planes parked. Did they have a mechanical problem and leave it overnight, or what happened?
What kind of plane was it?
It was one of the American Airlines.
Oh. Yes. Okay. So, yeah, that was the morning Phoenix flight. I went over and fueled it at 6:30, 7 o'clock yesterday morning, and I think they boarded or started boarding and then realized they had a problem. So yeah, they pushed it back, and it sat out on the ramp overnight basically until they got a mechanic up from Phoenix. They did not tell me what was wrong with it, but usually if they're getting somebody from Phoenix to come up and look at it, it's more than they're willing to let us do. We do provide on-call maintenance for them, but it's usually minor stuff. So this must have been something a little more major, but it was there. I think, I don't know, it was a little less than 24 hours. They had to push back over there, and then they flew it out to Phoenix yesterday mid-morning, put it back online.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Josh. Commissioners, any questions, any additional questions for Josh? All right, thank you. Moving on to grant updates, Brian Gall, but I think somebody
Yeah,
else.
this is Barney. I'm going to be
Yeah,
covering
Barney,
for.
you were gonna. All right, thank you.
Yeah, let's just go to the next slide, please. It's been a rough week for us out here. All of us are, in fact, the whole airport's been under the weather with some kind of bug. Anyways, what I'm going to go through is rather quickly with this is that this is a great map to show you some of the projects that are working on. You'll see the EV parking lot is completed and in use. The Wiseman parking lot has been completely repaved. We are still working on the design portion for the terminal apron drainage improvement. And what that is that when the terminal hold room was expanded in 2008, the drainage went straight out to the ramp, and as it causes icing conditions in the wintertime. So we're working with our on-call engineers to design a way to get that underground and reduce the amount of icing out there. Taxiway Whiskey is going to go into design pretty soon. We're moving that about 200 feet south away from the terminal. There has been some airfield maintenance work been going on to meet our FAA requirements. The paid parking system, there has been a request for proposals for systems come in. We received the proposals. It is going through review now, and a selection is hopefully made soon, and then we'll go into contract negotiations with this selected vendor to get the paid parking system in. Anticipated date is Memorial Day. We're hoping to get that a little bit quicker than that, but that's our anticipated date between negotiations with the contract and with the weather coming up. Terminal maintenance phase 1, we are in design phase for a updated sprinkler system and some work that'll be going in, including new doors, some painting in certain areas, some exterior work on the front for the concrete. And then the last item on there, you'll see the snow removal equipment building. Let's go to the next slide real quick, like here, Missy. That snow removal equipment building is at 30% design review. We are going to be sending out a request for proposal for a CMARC construction manager at risk to help us get through from 30% on. I'm also working with the FAA to get the environmental documentation for that. There's been a slight snag in that what we submitted to the FAA 11 months ago, we were not notified, but that person had left. So we have to resubmit. So there's going to be a slight delay from that, but it should not slow down the entire project. And the rest of those down through, you'll see we've already talked about on the previous slide. To the right, I don't recall if we've shown these, but these are the conceptual design, what the building will look like in the lower right-hand corner. Next slide, please. We really don't have any updates on this other than Brian has added our station maintenance phase 1 under construction pending. There's some work that needs to be done over there as far as their roof, one of their HVAC units, and there's some other upgrades that are going to be in there that are of a lower scale, but the building is closing in on 20 years old, and we're finding some things, even though staff's done an excellent job of keeping it up. And the rest of this, there's really no updates on until next month. Any questions about the grants at this time? I don't see anything in chat or hear anything. So that's it for grants.
All right, thank you, Barney. And we'll move right along to communication updates with Claire Harper.
Okay, if we could have the next slide, please, Missy. So we have certainly been busy. Brian, Barney, and I were able to attend the ASA conference, which is the Arizona Airport Association's annual fall conference in Phoenix. We were able to have a good discussion with other airports on upcoming legislative issues, as well as hangar issues, revenue, things like that. So it was nice to certainly gather with airport professionals from across the state. And we will be hosting, Flagstaff will be hosting the spring conference in early May. So we're certainly excited for that. Our website, our new website, flyflagstaffaz.com, was selected as one of the 4 finalists for the best new website by the Airport Council's International North America. And I was able to attend the conference in Vancouver, where unfortunately we were not the winner. Vancouver Airport actually won for best website, but it was a marketing and communications conference with North America folks. So that was US and Canada. And I came back with a million new ideas that I'm excited to implement. So look forward to doing that. And then last week, Barney and I were able to attend a airport. Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Barney and I were able to attend an airport roundtable event in Huntsville, Alabama, and it was a really unique experience. It's the airport planners from the airlines. So we were able to talk to United, Southwest, Allegiant, American, Delta, and Alaska. They all do a presentation, each airline does. And then we have time to ask questions as well as kind of network in a more casual environment, talk about what the forecast is looking like and what travel routes they're rolling out. Unfortunately, the regional air service forecast is a little bleak. Most of the airlines are now focusing on their mainline routes due to the pilot shortage. And the pilot shortage is not expected to peak until 2027. We just got back we got stuck in Huntsville and Dallas Fort Worth. So we actually got back Saturday. And then we haven't been able to kind of brainstorm and get everyone together, but we're certainly going to do that and put together a plan so we can work on recruiting another airline since United has left us. And then we have already registered for another roundtable event in February. So we're hoping that perhaps there will be some different airlines that we weren't able to meet with and chat with at this roundtable event. But it was nice. We were able to connect, talk a little bit about Alaska, and if they would have a nice place for us to add a route, and they are familiar with our airport. They just said that right now they are focusing more on the main line, but we will continue to reach out and kind of put together a plan so we can secure another airline. Is there anything you want to add about the roundtable, Barney?
Yeah, what you saw there is just the airlines out there. Claire and I are also in discussions with some other airlines that were not at this event. We're hoping that to see them at the February event. Also, it's not on here, but in June, the team will be going to Milwaukee for Jumpstart, which is one of the 2 biggest events of the year for airline interaction. We actually had some great interaction at this event, even though it's not the same type of thing as Heidi and I have always talked about, where it's a kind of a speed dating. This was more informal. We had lunch with people, spent a lot of time with some carriers that do have an interest in us. It's just, when will that time and what are the routes that will come available?
Thanks, Barney. And yes, there are a few other airlines that we're in email correspondence with that we would like to come to us, but we're not there quite yet. Next slide, please, Missy. And we'll end on our positive note. We had some popular social posts in October. One was the Chinook landing with the Mount Eldon in the background, and then everyone loves a rainbow and snow-covered peaks. So that concludes my communications update.
All right, thank you very much, Claire. Commissioners, does anyone have any questions for Claire, and I believe Vice Chair Jackson, you have your hand up. Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Chair Caldwell. Claire, I have a question about any local efforts that might be happening to encourage local people to continue to fly flag. I want to share with you that 3 times since August, I've flown out of Flagstaff and unfortunately has been booked on that last flight of the night. And this is not an airline problem. This is not a Flagstaff airport problem, but American has taken it upon themselves to change the flight, assuming that it wouldn't make it on time. And the flight is taking off earlier than scheduled from Phoenix. And they don't really care. And I'm talking to some people that travel more frequently than I do, and they're struggling because they're like, we're paying for a flight that we're not getting, and then we're still having to pay to rent a car and drive up the hill. So I wanted to bring that up because everyone has worked so hard to get this second airline and to get over those old 20-year where the airline service was inconsistent. So I'm just wondering if maybe we could look at doing something local, maybe on the radio or something, to continue to encourage people to fly out of Flagstaff, but because it's difficult right now. It's really difficult, and I know a lot of these things are not in control of Flagstaff Airport, but I know it's beginning to influence my decision on where I fly out of. So I just thought I would pass that along.
And Commissioner Jackson, do you mean that they leave Phoenix before they leave before their departure time, or the flight's canceled?
Correct. The last flight of the night is scheduled at like 8:16 and they're leaving at like 8:03, 8:05, like 10 minutes before they're scheduled to, and causing people to miss their flights. It's
Yeah,
happened to me 3 times. Twice was that one of them. I just didn't have a chance because of weather and whatnot, but it's really discouraging when trying to book that flight. It's a gamble.
yeah, that's unfortunate. And I've actually heard that from one of our internal staff as well, that has had that problem. It's certainly something that we can look into a little bit further, perhaps with Unite or with American. But we do hope to kick off a campaign in the beginning of December that does encourage folks to fly Flagstaff. We're still an option. We have 5 flights at least daily to Phoenix or Dallas Fort Worth. So we'll start rolling that out in December, along with a little press and radio. But if you have any other ideas, Commissioner Jackson, I would love to hear them. So let's chat. But yeah, that's unfortunate. I'm sorry that you're having that problem, and I know you're not the only one.
Thank you, Vice Chair Jackson, for raising that concern. And thank you, Claire, for addressing it. And I think it would be a wonderful idea to roll something out in December to encourage residents to fly out of Flagstaff. So good conversation. Thank you. All right, so moving on. Commissioners, are there any other questions for Claire before we move on? All right, hearing none, we will move on to informational items. Snow removal plan, Mr. Tim Skinner.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, Commission members, staff. Tim Skinner, I'm the Airport Operations ARC Manager. I'm going to talk really briefly today about our airport snow and ice control plan. Next slide, please. Our snow and ice control plan is one of our required documents for the FAA under CFR 14 Part 139. In it, it covers a variety of different things. The major ones are the preseason activities, which include preparation for the season with equipment, staffing, assignments. We also get together and create a snow and ice control committee with the stakeholders to discuss previous year operations, successes, things we can improve on. It also includes the actual operations itself, the snow and ice clearing operations. Again, same thing, going over equipment, priorities, where we deploy the snow equipment, and how we go about notifying our tenants and our stakeholders. And then it also covers, which is really important, our surface assessment and reporting, and it's calculated via a sort of algorithm that we get from the FAA, and it spits out a what we call an RCC, or runway condition code. And these codes go from 0 to 6. 0 meaning it's fully iced over and is unsafe and can't land, and 6 is what it would look like right now today, which would be dry pavement. Typically, our codes are going to be in the 5s or the 3s, and the reason why there's 3 numbers is they correlate to the different areas on the runway, so the touchdown, midpoint, and rollout. So, and the important point about this is we have the criteria in which we report this has to do with snow contaminant and depth. So, for example, if it's wet snow or dry snow, and if it's half an inch to an inch or whatnot, and where it's located on the runway, we put this into this calculation, and it spits us out these codes. So sometimes we don't necessarily have the discretion to upgrade or change these or anything, so it's kind of at the behest of the FAA. So and the bottom right picture there, that's kind of our ideal target of what we're looking at for snow operations, is to have, you know, a beautiful blanket of white snow everywhere, but a safe runway for aircraft to land on. Next slide, please. So, like I said, in the plan, one of the big things it talks about that we focus on is our airfield clearing priorities. So if you look at the photo on the right-hand side, it's broken down via color. The red is what we consider priority 1 area. The blue is a priority 2 area. To give you an idea, and again, this is all dictated by the FAA, to give you an idea on how large our priority 1 area, it's about a little over 2.5 million square feet. And if you have about an inch of snow on that surface, it equals about 2,600 tons. So in addition to the FAA identifying what the number 1 priority clearing areas are, and the equipment needed to remove that, it also adds a time on there. And so per the FAA, with our operations and the size of our airport, we should, is a very loose word, or at least our target is to remove at least one. If there's a 1-inch snowstorm on this red priority 1 area, we have about 30 minutes to do that in. So again, that's our target area. So how do we do that, you ask? Lots of shovels. Just kidding. Next slide, please. We do that using obviously our specialized snow removal equipment. Currently in our fleet right now, we have 8 pieces of snow removal equipment, including 2 displacement plows, 2 material spreaders, our rotary plow, which is basically a giant blower, which you can see in action at that bottom photo there, and then a multitask piece of equipment, and then 2 loaders. The multitask piece of equipment is what you see in the upper left photo. It's kind of a multi, well, I mean, it is what it is, multitask. It's a little Swiss Army knife for us. We can remove that front attachment to a broom, a straight plow blade, or again, a snowblower rotary plow. So it gives us some more options to handle the snow and ice control, or snow and ice events here. Excuse me, tripping over my tongue. So what we're doing right now is, again, 8. I believe the FAA says we should or are allowed up to, I believe our target piece of equipment was 12, 14, somewhere up there, pretty high. We're continuing to use our airport capital improvements program to get more. And I know, especially everybody on the team here with support, we're trying to get that snow removal, or SREB, building built so we can store all these fancy pieces of equipment. So appreciate everybody's help on that. And then with the equipment, again, the staffing, we're very similar to the rest of the city of Flagstaff. Staffing the equipment remains our biggest challenge. You know, even with our 8 pieces of equipment, we struggle some years to get our full-time folks in those seats and, you know, cover the fire trucks simultaneously. So it's something we continue to work on. So that's kind of about it in a nutshell regarding our snow and ice control plan. I could probably go way into the weeds and spend all afternoon talking about it, but is there any questions so far? Seeing none, that's about it. Again, everybody can kind of cross our fingers for some snow. We were supposed to get some yesterday. Didn't happen. We still got some moisture though. So I do know that the National Weather Service puts out their prediction for the winter season, which is kind of a coin toss. For those of you who don't know, I believe we're looking at a slightly higher chance of less precipitation, man, than our average, and a little higher increase in our temperatures than the average. So who knows what that means? But anyways, there's no other questions. Thank you very much for letting me talk about it.
Thank you very much, Tim. Commissioners, any questions for Tim before we move on? All right, thank you. Hearing none, we will move on to discussion items. December meeting, Claire.
Thank you. So what we wanted to talk about was for our December meeting, we had talked last meeting about an airport tour. What we would need to do is we would need to break it out into it would need to be either, we can't have 4 or more, or else we'd have to have a quorum and have it open to the public. So what I would like to do right now would be, you can either drop in the chat or raise your hand if you would be interested in going on an airport tour. So I see Cal's hand up, and then I see
Jesse's in the
Jesse
chat.
and Tom.
Yes, both of them.
Then are we missing anyone else? Okay, Gail would too. So perfect. So that means that we'll correspond via email. And it looks like we can get 2 tour dates available. So then it won't be open to the public and we won't be having any quorum issues, but we will break it down into probably 2 tours. So look for an email about that. I will send out next week with dates. And then certainly, hopefully it does not happen. But if we were to have a snow event, then we'd have to postpone the tours because Tim's staff and all would be out with their heavy equipment, clearing the runway and such. But that's great. So for our December meeting, my suggestion, and if anyone is opposed, we can certainly talk about it, would be to have we'll have a tour instead of a meeting in December. So we'll cancel that December meeting and we'll send out an email and arrange times for 2 separate tours that the commission can go on. Any questions about that?
Sounds good, Claire. Thank you. All right. It looks like we are at adjournment of our regular meeting. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Commissioner.
Madam Chair, Madam Chair, may I just have a quick word with the commission?
Sure. Yes,
Yeah.
Councilwoman Salas.
So this may be the last meeting I have with the Airport Commission, and I just want to say my utmost gratitude to be of service to this commission as your liaison to council. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Councilwoman Salas, and thank you for your service to our community. You absolutely, yeah, thank you. Thank you. Commissioner or Barney, you had your hand up.
Yes, I want to express my extreme thank you to Councilmember Salas. We've had no stronger supporter in all the years I've been here than you, and we're going to miss you greatly. Thank you for all you've done for all of us.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that. Oh, I knew I was going to see the heart. Thank you, Councilwoman Salas. All right.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? I think Commissioner McCloy, you motioned to adjourn. Do I hear a second?
I second.
And that was Commissioner.
Breckenridge.
Thank you very much. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Regina.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.